Okay, today's topic is, let me share the screen first. So, how electronic fan regulators working? Okay, that is today's topic, and this everyone, I believe, would have seen in your home, right? These regulators, is it so, guys? You guys seen this?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is the latest type of electronic regulator we are using to control the fan speed. But previously, like older days, we can say. So in our days, we used to have that big we can call it as electrical regulator. This we can call it as electronic, because that is not using any type of electronic devices. So I will show you that what is the conventional regulator we were using. So this is the one. So this is a big regulator will be there. So AC supply, main supply from the socket, where you get the 230 volt and 50 hertz frequency. These are all standards, I believe you know. And this is the fan, it is connected to the AC supply through this regulator, conventional regulator. And these are all the resistors. Okay. So where these resistors, we are sending this current. So when the total resistance is more, the current will be less. So the fan speed will be obviously less because of the power is less. When you keep on reduce the resistance by rotating the knob, you are cut down the resistance. So you're increasing the current. So the power is more, the fan start to rotate fast. So this is what we are using. But the problem with this conventional regulator is it burns a lot of electricity. It is like you are opening the tap and taking only some portion of water what you want, but other portion of water you're just leaving. Okay, you're just wasting. But that is not the wise thing to do, right? If how much you want, that much only you have to take it out. So, but here, this is what is happening. We will take the current, we will waste it as heat, and remaining current we will use it to power the fan. So this is not the wise thing to do. So, but so many years we were using this, like wasting the power and energy. So these electronic regulators have come, and it will tap only how much current is required to for the given speed. 1 second. So the electronic regulator is going to replace this conventional regulator because of the benefits I said to you. One is the main thing is it's going to save the power for us. And one more thing is this bulky thing is replaced by the small little thing. Okay. So it will occupy less space because of the electronics components used. We will see that. So before seeing the electronic regulator, fan regulator, how it's going to work, we will see the few components. So what's a diode? How many of you know, guys? How many of you know the diode? Anybody? Hello?
It is a thing which conducts current and has a polarization.
Okay, then what about copper? Copper conducts current, right? Why can't we call copper as a diode? Copper also conductor, right?
You can pass current in any direction, but in a diode, you cannot be passed in a specific direction.
Yes. So diode is made up of semiconductors. Okay. The copper is the pure conductor, but diode is a semiconductor. That semiconductor, what does it mean? Like it has been designed in such a way, it will allow the flow of current in only one direction, and the other direction has been blocked. So I'll show you the symbol here. But actually the construction is this is the P-type semiconductor material and the N-type semiconductor material. These two semiconductor material will be joined or fused together. So they'll make a PN semiconductor. So this only acts as a diode. What is P? What is N? P is for positive, N is for negative. But why it is positive, why it is negative, that we have to go to the manufacturing or how they are producing this semiconductor element. So if you want, I can get you to that. So basically we'll use semiconductors or silicon, okay, or germanium, but silicon is most widely used. So when the silicon atoms are in the lattice structure, that is like it is having 4 electron at the valence shell, silicon atoms. So in the lattice network, everything will be joined together like this, like bonded together. All the silicon atoms share these electron and form a lattice structure. Okay. So by adding the impurity inside this silicon, that element that is made up of this silicon lattice network, by adding the impurities, we are going to create a P-type semiconductor or N-type semiconductor. That is according to the impurity. So we will call that process called doping. Okay. It is called doping. So silicon is having 4 valence electron, but if you dope with the phosphorus or arsenic, these are called pentavalent element. Pentavalent means it's going to have 5 electron at the outermost shell. So when you add these impurities in lesser amount, it's going to replace one silicon atom with this impurity inside the lattice network. Inside the lattice network. So what will happen? Silicon, here phosphorus will keep. It is having 5 electron at the valence shell. So 1 electron will be loosely, left out, because silicon can share only with 4 electrons. This 1 extra electron of a phosphorus is left out freely. So in the lattice structure, if you keep on add this dopant, the process called doping, the what element we are adding as impurity is called dopant, it's going to give 1 extra electron for us. So with that, we are making this silicon as N-type semiconductor. Why it is called N-type? Because we got more electrons here. So free electrons here. So similarly, instead of adding 5 valence electron element, if I add a 3 valence electron element, that is called trivalent element. So for example, boron. Boron is having 3 electrons at the outermost shell. So that means it's still the silicon is left out with that extra electron of silicon still wants 1 more electron to share, but there is an electron deficiency. Okay, so there will be electron deficiency if you add boron to the silicon element. So because of the electron deficiency, we call it as holes. It will be called P-type semiconductor. So you guys got it? What is P-type and what is N-type? Silicon is the basic element. By adding the impurities like a pentavalent or trivalent, because silicon is having 4 valence electrons. 4 electrons at the outermost shell, we call it as valence electrons. 4 electrons. By adding the pentavalent element as a doping material or doping impurities, we are making additional extra electrons. Or by adding trivalent element as an impurity, we are making 1 electron short. So based on this doping, by choosing the pentavalent or trivalent element, we are converting the silicon semiconductor into P-type semiconductor or N-type semiconductor. When we join these 2 semiconductor, we are making a diode. Okay. So it is called 2 types of semiconductor joined together becoming a diode. By giving positive voltage here, we can allow the electrons to move this direction and holes in this direction, and the conduction happens. Okay. This is what a diode. Are we clear, guys? Hello?
Sure.
You got a doubt? Anybody's having doubt in this? Doping or impurities, pentavalent, trivalent, what I said?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So the symbolic representation of a diode is, sorry. Is the terminal. So this triangle represents a P-type semiconductor. This line represents a N-type semiconductor. So the P and N type semiconductor is symbolically represented as this symbol. Okay, the arrowhead and the vertical line. So this is called a diode. Okay, so this is symbolic representation. This symbolic representation will be useful when you are designing the circuits. So you should know that also. You should know what is the construction of a semiconductor and what is the symbolic representation of the semiconductor. Construction, I told you how P and N type will be fused together and is making a junction. And what is the symbolic representation? You should keep it in memory. This will be useful when you are designing the circuit, electronic circuits or electrical circuits. So next, before going to diode, I want you guys to know diode. So now we'll come to diac. So what is the diac? Diac is diode for alternating current. So diac is the diode for alternating current. So what does it mean? We have seen diode will allow current in only one direction. Okay. If you give positive voltage here on it will allow. If you give negative voltage here, it won't allow. Because the junction, the barrier voltage will increase, will be widened. So it stops further flow of electrons. So if you give reverse voltage here, it's not going to conduct. That is a property of diode, as we have seen earlier. But what is a diac? Diac is like combining two diodes in anti-parallel direction. That is, anti-parallel means in reverse direction. So if you're connecting two diodes in anti-parallel direction, we can allow conduction both ways. Like in this direction also current will be conducted. In this direction also current will be conducted. Like if it is positive and negative, the current will flow through this. Or if this terminal is positive and this terminal is negative, current will flow through this diode. So you can't take the regular PN junction diode and you can't make your own diac. Diac should be manufactured because we are going to use the diac for heavy voltage and heavy current. But whatever diode we have seen, that is for like minimum voltage and minimum current. That cannot be used for power electronics. Okay, power electronics is field where you want to use electronic devices for high voltage and high current. Okay, where we are dealing with the AC currents, where high voltage and high currents are involved, you have to go for it. But equivalently, it is the combination of two diodes anti-parallelly, but we can't make our own diac by combining two diodes anti-parallelly. Okay, it's a symbolic representation for understanding purpose, but you can't just buy two diodes and connect it anti-parallelly and you can't call it as a diac. If you use that in the circuit, it's gonna burn. Okay, so diac should be purchased. So diac, in this concept, they are manufacturing the diac. The symbol of the diac, circuit symbol of the diac is okay. This is the circuit symbol of the diac. So we will give input and this will be the output. So this is the circuit symbol of the diac, nothing but the representation of two diodes in anti-parallel. Okay, anti-parallel we are representing two diodes. So this is a circuit symbol, very plain, very simple, right? Are we clear here, guys? Now we know what is diode. Now we know what is diac. Diac is for diode for alternating current. Why I am using the alternating current? Because we are varying the voltages on the terminals. One time it will be positive, another time it will be negative. Okay, so we are varying the voltages. So diac will be useful for alternating current. We can't use the diode for alternating current. It's gonna conduct in only one side. So in order to use any electronic device for alternating current to get the maximum output, like in both cycle, because alternating current have positive and negative cycle. So in order to use the both halves of the cycle, you have to go for this diode. If you go for a single diode, it's just gonna conduct in one end. There will not be no conduction. Again, conduction will be for another cycle, another positive half cycle. So like that only we're gonna get the output. But if you want to get the complete full wave output, you have to go for this diac. Okay, because we used diodes in reverse. So diode for alternating current is diode that has been manufactured separately. Okay, designed and manufactured. Are we clear here, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So now we know diode, now we know diode. Now next is thyristor or silicon controlled rectifier or semiconductor controlled rectifier. So thyristor is a semiconductor controlled rectifier is the general name, and thyristor also like a family name. So thyristor is nothing but the combination of transistor and thyratron on vacuum tube was in olden days. Okay, transistor was nothing but vacuum tubes they were using. Afterwards replaced by these electronics. So previously they were using vacuum tubes. You can search and see in Google previously how they were using radios and all. Big vacuum tubes will be they're using for electronic. I mean, whatever electronics are replaced. Whatever functions electronics are doing now for our devices. Previously it was done by those vacuum tubes for switching, for amplification, everything. So that thyratron and transistor combination only thyristor. So that is the origin of the name thyristor. But the function is very simple. Okay. So it will be like, we have seen diode. Okay, this is diode. Okay. And thyristor is like a diode where we will have one more gate terminal. That is, this is the gate terminal. Gate terminal means with some minimum voltage, it's like opening the gate so that you will allow you can imagine like a dam. Okay, dam gates will be there, floodgates. If you just open it up, for that minimum effort is required. But what is the output? The big flow of highly pressurized water is going to come out. Okay, so that is the purpose of the gate. Gate will have minimum voltage. It open up this diode so that it will conduct maximum voltage here, like big amount of voltage will be conducted through this. With this minimum voltage, it opens up. Okay, allows the conduction to happen. If there is no gate signal, the conduction won't happen here. Like you can imagine like a floodgate. If you open the floodgate only, the flow will be there. So to open the floodgate, minimum effort is enough. Okay, but you can't stop the flow of water once it's open. So again, with the minimum effort, we can close it off. Like when there is an input in the gate, the current, that big voltage will be conducted. When there is no gate signal, no voltage will be conducted. Okay. So gate requires minimum volt and will conduct the big amount of voltage through this. So this is called gate. This is called terminal 1, terminal 2. So this is called thyristor. Thyristor is having one more terminal is called gate. But diode is not having that. Okay, that is only 2 terminals. But thyristor is having one more terminal called gate. But here also it will conduct in only one direction because this is a positive junction, this is a negative junction. But in order to use it for alternating currents, so this will be used for only DC current where the voltages are fixed, where the polarities are fixed. But if you want to use for the changing polarities, that is for alternating current, this thyristor is not useful. So only we are going for triac. Triac is nothing but triode for alternating current. So let me draw a symbol. With the symbol you can understand. So we have seen the thyristor, right? Wait, let me draw vertical. So we have seen the thyristor. So it is like a gate signal. So anti-parallel you have to correct one more thyristor with the gate signal. And this gate signal will be joined together and be taken outside. So this will be joined. This will be joined. This is one more terminal. So how many terminals? Same. 1, 2, and gate. 3 terminals. Okay. So whatever direction the current flows or the voltage, the polarity, so whether it is plus or minus, so it will go, it's going to conduct. Because you can see here, when this side, this terminal is positive, this will be conducting. When this terminal is positive, this side will be conducting. So it's nothing but the diarc. How we use the diode in diarc, same way we use the thyristor in triarc. So two thyristors anti-parallel connected, we get triarc. So why we are doing this? Because we can use it for alternating currents, like variable polar, when the polarity is changing frequently. For alternating currents, this triacs will be useful. But thyristors we can't use for alternating current, only for DC currents or direct currents. Okay. Are we clear here, guys? Hello? Hello? You have to say something. It's like speaking to a wall. Yeah, okay, fine. So we have seen diarc and through the diarc, and thyristors and through the triarc. So you have to remember diarc and triarc, because these two components only, these two electronic devices only we are going to use. So this comes under the category of power electronics because it's having the rated voltage of high voltage and high current. It can conduct at high voltage and high currents. So this have to be purchased by giving the spec. You can't directly buy the thyristor, you can make your own triarcs. So specs are available to buy in market in order to make your own circuit, like a hobby project. If you want to do it at home, you can do it, because at the end of the slide, I am going to give you the names. You can buy and you can try it, but be careful with the high voltage. Okay, fine. So next, so we are going to see our electronic fan regulator circuit. So don't be afraid. It's very simple it is, because if you understand that how the conventional fan regulator works, like decreasing or increasing the resistance, we control the current, and from that we control the power of the load or fan or bulb, whatever it is. With that we vary the current, so we can vary the speed or brightness of the bulb, whatever may be the load, we can control it, okay, by controlling the current, by adding the resistance or decrease the resistance. But we have seen that is not the wisest thing to do, because it's wasting so much power. It's like drawing all the current and you're wasting something as heat and you're using something for work. That is not the wisest thing to do, right? So how much you want for the work, that much only you have to draw from the mains. So that in that way you can save the power. So power saving is the need of the hour. So electronic fan regulators are helping to achieve that. So here it is the fan. So maximum 200 watts, because this is the 230 volt, a regular fan only, ceiling fan. It's having the wattage of 200. Our AC main supply, 230 volt at 50 hertz. Okay, the frequency of the main supply. So I am connecting one end of the fan to the resistor, which is 10 kilo ohm. And seriously, I'm connecting with this variable resistor. This is called potentiometer. Okay. We call it as potentiometer. I'll show you the picture, how it looks. So this potentiometer is like varying, like rotary potentiometer. You can, like knob is there, no? You can see in your, that fan regulator, the knob will be there. So what you're controlling is this only. Everything is fixed. You will control this resistance. By rotating the knob, you will increase the resistance or decrease the resistance. But it's not going to waste the power because of this capacitor in between. It's going to help everything. It's not going to conduct current. And with that, is not going to waste the current here. It will just act like a variable resistance. It's going to help us to trigger the circuit, like fire the circuit, so that we can able to control the power output. Okay, so we are just going to see how it's going to work. So this is the 100 kilo ohm. This 10 kilo ohm resistor. This is the 100 kilo ohm variable rotary potentiometer. And this is connected to the polyester capacitor. Why I'm calling this polyester capacitor? Because it's not having any polarity. That means it can be connected in either direction. You don't need to worry about which terminal should be positive, which terminal should be negative, because we are dealing with alternating currents, right? We can't go for that. So you have to be specific with your electronic devices. It should work in both ways. Okay, so this is the polyester capacitor, which works on both voltages, like whether it is positive or negative voltage, it's gonna store the charge. What is the function of capacitor? It's going to store the charge for you. Whenever the voltage is maximum, it's going to store. When the voltage is reducing, it's going to discharge the charge for us. Okay, now we will see the working mechanism, working principle, how it's going to work for us. So now the alternating current is flowing through this fan. Now just for assumption, I'm telling it's not going to flow. For assumption, initial stage, when time t equal to 0, what's going to happen, we'll see. It flows here and it's charges, okay? Charge is capacitor. When the voltage is maximum, it's going to charge. When the voltage is less, the capacitor going to discharge. But it should have the minimum breakover voltage in order to start the conduction. Okay, so this diag is having minimum breakover voltage. If the water voltage is given off by the capacitor, if it is above the breakover voltage of this diag, it's gonna conduct. Below the voltage is not gonna conduct. So we keep the maximum resistance at the initial stage. All you know, when you're knob at 0 position, that means maximum resistance is there. So whatever current, voltage is there, the voltage drop will be here. Fan also a resistor, there will be a voltage drop. This resistance also will have a voltage drop. This variable potentiometer also will have a voltage drop. This capacitance also will have a voltage drop. But because of the maximum resistance, maximum voltage will be dropped here. And it will have minimum voltage drop. Okay, with that minimum voltage drop, it's not going to give the breakover voltage here, so that this diag will not be conducting. So since it is not conducting and the current flow will be minimum here, it's not going to have the power to run the fan. So fan will be in off condition. Okay. Are we clear here, guys? So this is the time t equal to 0 when the knob is at the 0 position. That means the maximum resistance. You are keeping the knob here. That means maximum resistance you added to the circuit. So maximum voltage drop will be here. Then minimum voltage drop will be on this capacitance. So it's not going to have the breakover voltage to allow the diag for conduction. So nothing will be conducted and no current. So no current will be flowing here. Whatever current flows here, it will be very minimum. So it's not gonna do any work for us. Are we clear here? Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Or any doubt here? Hello? Any doubt here in the element, the resistor and the potentiometer and the capacitor? Any doubt here?
Yes, sir.
You got a doubt? You can ask me here itself. Hello? Hello, guys. You can ask me right away. Because with that only we are going to move forward. Okay, let me finish. Afterwards, you can ask me.
Yes, sir. It's
Because-
clear.
Yeah, okay. If I finish something, because half of the thing, some confusion will definitely some confusion will be there. But if I finish the circuit, the working mechanism, you can understand. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the knob to the first position. That means I'm reducing the resistance. When I move the knob, I'm reducing the resistance here. So when I'm reducing the resistance, voltage drop will be minimum here. It's going to increase here, right? Because the given voltage is same. When I reduce the resistance here, the voltage drop somewhere should get balanced, right? Compensated. So since the resistance is reduced here, the voltage drop is going to reduce in this R2, it compensating by increasing the voltage here. Okay, because this is also fixed resistance is there. But this capacitance, no, it can hold up more charges, right? It is having the capacity of 0.1 microfarad. So the voltage is going to increase here. So when it is increasing, it is going to cross the breakover voltage of this diag. When it crosses the breakover voltage, it's going to conduct the current. Okay, whether it is a positive cycle or negative cycle, it's going to conduct in either way because this is a diag. You can see the symbol. It will conduct both directions. So we will see in one direction so that you'll get a clarity. Now, no need to confuse with the other direction. You can assume what will be in other direction. So it's going to conduct the current here. So this will be like a gate pulse, gate signal to the triac. When the gate signal goes to the triac, it's like opening the floodgate. So the mains is open now. The main 230 volt is open now. It's going to reach the fan. Okay, the fan is going to rotate. So everybody knows now the fan is rotating. By giving the gate signal, it is rotating. But what about the gate signal? It is going to be always constant. No, because of what? The capacitor is discharging, right? Because our input voltage is varying, like alternating current. When it is reaches some maximum value only, capacitor will get charged. When the voltage is reducing, capacitor gonna discharge. Okay, so capacitor is discharging, and again it needs to be charged, right? So charging and discharging will happen. So it is not going to be a permanent constant current. The charging and discharging will happen. So that will be like a one more frequency here, one more pulse. I can show like this. Like capacitor will be charging at the maximum voltage suddenly, and will be discharging, and again charging, discharging. So the pulse will be like this. Can you guys get this? How I draw this? Because at the maximum voltage of input, my capacitor will be charged. When the voltage is dropping down, okay, it will be discharging. And again, when the voltage is increasing, it's gonna charge. When the voltage, input voltage is reducing, it's gonna discharge. So charging and discharging gonna happen. So if you measure with the multimeter or the oscilloscope from this point with the ground, you will get this signal. You can see this waveform. You take the oscilloscope, if you measure here with the terminals here and the ground, you will get the waveform as I shown here. So this is also going to have the frequency. With that frequency, it's gonna conduct the current through the triarc. So fan will be rotating at a given speed. Because our knob is at one particular position, it started conducting with this waveform. Because this is the gate pulse. You can call it as gate pulse. Because this is only going to give the gate pulse. With this gate pulse, our triac is working and we are getting the current through the fan, and the fan is rotating on particular speed. But still, if I increase the position of the knob, I mean, I'm going to increase the speed. That means nothing but I'm reducing the resistance further. If I reduces the resistance further, what will happen? Because it's a variable potentiometer, right? Initially, it was maximum resistance. No current was flowing. When I keep on reducing the resistance, the current started to flow. It started to conduct. But what will happen at every step? Why the speed is increasing or why the speed is decreasing? I'm going to show you now. When I reduce the resistance here by increasing the speed, that is nothing but changing the position of the knob. It will reduce the resistance here. So what will happen? More voltage drop will be here. Because when you reduce the resistance R2 value here, more voltage drop going to be on the capacitor. That means it's going to conduct more current. Since the resistance is less, what will happen? The more current will allow, right? When the resistance less, it's simple. I mean, from the word itself, you can understand, right? When R2 is less, it's going to allow more current. So more current will be allowed here. So the charging will be faster. So the capacitor will charge at quick time. So how much fast it is charging, same much rate it is going to discharge. Okay. The rate of charging and rate of discharge is always similar. When you charge it up fastly, it's gonna discharge fastly. Quickly. When you charge it up slowly, it's gonna discharge slowly. So since it is charging at faster rate, it's gonna discharge at a faster rate. So I am varying the frequency of this gate pulse. Okay. When I vary the frequency of the gate pulse, my output voltage that also gonna vary. Let me show you here. So let me show you. So let me draw the gate pulse here. So it goes like that. So this is the voltage and this is the time. So what will be the output voltage? What I'm going to get the output, so how it's going to affect, because when it is discharging, that time only my triac will be conducting, right? When it is discharging only, my triac will be conducting. So my triac will be conducting at this point. So even though my input voltage is this, my track will be conducting from this point. So this is my conduction region. So even the input voltage is like this full waveform, sine waveform. My output at the track will be half only. Okay, whatever shaded portion, that much only will be the conduction region. You guys can get it. What I am trying to show or make you to understand. Can you get it, guys? This is the output voltage. This is the gate pulse or gate voltage you can keep. So when the gate pulse is varying like this, my track output voltage will be like this. So even the input voltage is a full waveform, my output voltage will be only the shaded portion. Only this half will be conducting. So by varying the gate pulse, this will be the gate voltage is like somewhat you can keep it like 30 volt or something. But this output voltage is like 230 volt. Okay. So gate is like somebody is opening and allowing the like big amount of current to flow through. So I can control the voltage output here. So with this portion, if you calculate the RMS value, that is root mean square value, it will be somewhat, you can assume here. Okay. Again, if I vary the gate pulse, like charging and discharging is happening at so much fast. Like the frequency is increasing, you keep. So you can see here how the frequency is it's increasing. Okay. Because it's like charging and discharging happening at so much fast. Because I'm reducing the resistance there. So my charging time and discharge time is reduced. So what will happen to my output voltage? Sorry, I'm drawing like this. What will happen to my output voltage? So it will start conducting here. So it was middle here, but you can see here, the early conduction happened. Since I reduced the resistance, the early conduction happened here. You can see it started middle here, but here it's somewhat early. So early conduction happened here. If you calculate the root mean square value, that average value for this, it will be somewhat higher. I mean, here I can show. So more than this volt will be higher. So what's going to happen? My fans start to rotate fast. So by varying the resistance, I am varying the frequency of the gate pulse. With that, I am varying the load output of the track, because track will be going to conduct as much as the gate pulse is existing. Okay. When the gate pulse is so much fast, it's going to conduct at that same rate. Okay. You guys can get this. Hello? 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 Why there is a dead silence?
So Rishikesh's message in the chat, yes.
Okay. So that's it, right? You can now see here what happened here. So by varying the resistance, I am varying the gate pulse here. So like charging and discharging is happening at faster and slower. I am varying the time. You can think like that. By varying the time of charging and discharging, by varying the resistance. So I am varying the gate pulse here. With that, my track will be conducting accordingly. Whatever may be the input voltage, it's not going to conduct one-to-one. It's going to start conduct from here or here or here. In either way, it will start conducting. By cutting off these voltages, I can reduce the average output voltage on the load. Okay, that's what I'm doing with the triac. It's very simple, principally, right? At least you can understand principally. With your own effort, you can understand the detailed mechanism. But principally, you should understand what's happening here. The input voltage is a full waveform. But by using this gate pulse, I am cutting off the voltage. to my desired angle. Like I can cut at 30 degree or 90 degree or 135 or 180 or 270. So wherever I want, I can cut the voltage. So with that, only that much amount of voltage will be going through here. So on average, your RMS value, that means root mean square of the voltage will be varied. That means the current will be varied, the power will be varied. So fan speed will be varied. Okay. So this is how it works. Are we clear here? Guys, you got a doubt? Anybody got a doubt? Hello? Hello? Okay, fine. Okay, this is the components. So this is the BT136 triac. Okay, if you can go to the market, if you say the spec, they're going to give this. And this is the rotary potentiometer. You have to say the ohm, 100 kilo ohm. This is the resistor, 10 kilo ohm. And this is the diac. Okay, this is also having the spec DB3. Okay, DB3. So you will get this diac. And this is the polyester capacitor, 0.1 microfarad. Okay, so maximum voltage 400 volt. So you can get this. So with this, with the printed circuit, I mean with the PCB board or breadboard, you can make your own voltage regulator. And no need to connect with the fan. You can take your tungsten bulb and use the mains, but be careful with that. With the tungsten bulb, and that means what I mean tungsten bulb, you know, the electric bulb, the old electric bulb. With the tungsten bulb, you connect through the mains with this circuit as I shown. You can vary the brightness of the bulb by rotating this rotary potentiometer, the knob. You can increase the brightness and decrease the brightness of the bulb. Anybody's gonna try that? Hello? So it will be like the whole hobby project for you guys. You can do this. You can take the screenshot of this. You can take the screenshot of this and you can try connecting on your own with this element. Like you draw your own power supply and where I want to connect everything, you can imagine. So I'll connect a capacitor, from capacitor where it should go. So like that you can imagine. So from capacitor, I will go to the one end of the one, because you can see the rotary potentiometer got 3 terminals. You can see here. So this is one terminal, one terminal, one terminal. So the rotary potentiometer 3 terminals. So you have to leave one terminal loose. That's what you have. One terminal you can keep it loose, and you can connect with this. And the load you can keep here, fan, and connect the resistance here. And with that, take the terminal T1, and with the from this take the output and give it to the diac. From diac, you give the gate pulse, and from this T2 you connect here. So this will be the circuit. Okay. So you can take the screenshot of it and you can try it at home. You can take the screenshot of this circuit also, and you can create your own hobby electronic circuit, electronic fan regulator, or bulb dimmer, they will call dimmer circuit. Any doubts? Guys? Still we got 10 more minutes. Any doubts?
No.
No doubts. That's great, yeah. Because I got so much doubt. Nobody's having any doubt. No, not in this, at least anything related to electrical, electronics, you want to know? Anything related to electrical, electronics, you want to know? But semiconductors, any doubt related to that? Your subject, academics? Anything you want to know?
Sir, diode diacon എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാരോ?
Hello?
So
Diode diacon.
Navajit is asking, can you explain diode and diac?
Oh, diode and diac. Okay. See, diode is. Okay, let me go first. That's not the reason. Let me open new page. So before that, you should know what is semiconductor. Semiconductor is made up of silicon element, more probably, not germanium also they can use, but silicon is most widely used semiconductor element. So what is the specialty about silicon is it's having 4 valence electron, that is electron at the outermost shell. So in the lattice network, it's gonna share like this. Okay, it's called like bond, crystal structures. If you read chemistry or physics, crystal structure, it's gonna have this covalent bond here. So it will be shared like this. So all the electron will be shared so it will have the balanced what we call. So in order to be a complete, fulfilled shell, it should have that range, right? The outermost shell should have 8 electrons. So it will share with other silicons, each one. So every silicon will have that balanced, stable electronic configuration. Like you can see, it's a covalent bond sharing of electrons. But if you see each silicon atom or anywhere, it is having 8. So 8 is the stable, more stable. Everything wants to be like 8, that you can know that rule is there in chemistry. In every shell, what is the number of electrons should be there. So in 1s orbital means 2 electrons should be the stable stage at 8 electrons at the outermost shell. So it is forming the lattice structure like this. But what we are going to do, we are going to add an impurity that is called doping, that process called doping. So we are going to add an impurity here. So that impurity will be like a pentavalent, like you call the impurity as phosphorus. Pentavalent means it's having 5 electrons at the outermost shell. So when I replace, so this impurity is going to replace some silicon atoms and called phosphorus has come inside the lattice network. So all its 4 electrons shared with the other silicon atom, but it left with 1 electron free. So excess of electron has been, excess of electron is there in the lattice network, free electron, it's not used. So when like this, you can imagine the total lattice network, somewhere that phosphorus will be, silicon will be replaced with a phosphorus pentavalent element, so that our electron counting will be increasing, free electron. So this doping will leads to N-type semiconductor. Okay, semiconductor is just a silicon, 4 valence electrons the outermost shell, the lattice network, the chemistry. But if you add the impurity phosphorus, that's pentavalent, it's gonna have 1 additional electron for every impurity atom, so that it will be called N-type semiconductor. Similarly, instead of adding pentavalent atom phosphorus, if you add boron, boron is trivalent. It's having only 3 electrons at the outermost shell. So 3 electrons at the outermost shell. So 1 electron is not shared at all. Like there is a shortage, there is a deficiency here. So this silicon, this electron wants to combine with the electron pair, but is not there. There is an electron deficiency. So if you can imagine, electron deficiency can be called as holes or positively charged, because when electron is excess, negatively charged. When electron is deficient, positively charged. So this will become a p-type semiconductor. So when you add this p-type semiconductor with the n-type semiconductor, we are forming a diode. Okay, so I'll show you. So when you add this, so now you know what is p-type semiconductor and n-type semiconductor. When you join this, if you look closer to the junction, what will happen? So I'm just drawing the junction. So here holes will be there. I'm going to write big, okay, holes. Silicon atom will be there, holes will be there. This side, N-type semiconductor, more electrons will be there. So what will happen when you make the junction? This electron wants to go there because there is a deficiency, but here free electrons are there. It wants to go here. So all the electron will move and occupy this space wherever deficiency is. But since the electron has moved here and the phosphorus is having it's having the 5 electron, but it's balanced. Neutrally, it's electrically neutral atom, phosphorus. It's having the equal amount of proton and equal amount of electron. Now the phosphorus has lost electron. Now the proton is excess. So this region will become positively charged. This N-type region will become positively charged because of the excess proton in the phosphorus. Because it lost the electron. Now the proton will be more if you count. The number of electron, number of proton, if you count. Phosphorus have now 1 electron, 1 proton is more. Because it lost the electron here. It is moved to this side. So it will be positively charged. And here also it is electrically neutral. Okay, whatever a p-type content is electrically neutral. Protons and number of electrons are equal. But now all the electrons are moved here. It will become negatively charged. You can see. It will become negatively charged. So there is a barrier develops. So further electrons, it won't allow to move. So there will be negative voltage here. There will be a positive voltage here. So no more electrons will be moving here. It will be blocking. Okay. So there is a barrier voltage is developed in this PN junction diode. So this barrier voltage is of the value 0.7. Okay, 0.7 is the barrier voltage. By giving a voltage of 12 volt or 5 volt, we can break this barrier voltage and allow for this conduction. So this 5 volt, 0.7 will be used to break this barrier and the remaining voltage will be used for conduction. Okay, so this is called PN junction diode. Any doubt here?
No, sir.
It won't allow in another direction. Only one direction will be conducted. If you reverse this polarity, it won't conduct. It only increase, widen this barrier voltage. Further positive will be added here. Further negative will be added here. So it will be widen the barrier. So further no more conduction will be there. So diode, it's like a switch you can use. You can think of a switch. These semiconductor devices started as a switch for the circuits or networks. So this diode is the basic switch. It allows in one direction. It stops in other direction. Now, tell me. Somebody was asking something.